First of all, I think your analysis was very straight line. History doesn't run in a straight line.
Kid, you cannot tell your neighbor he is stealing ducks when you are stealing funds.
As High Commissioner, I was wrong. As Charandas Prasad, I reacted naturally how any person would have.
I did not come here for that kind of abuse. I did not come here for that kind of abuse. If you're going to go down that road, I'll walk off.
But it's all okay once they're talking. If they were talking, I could not have been here today.
You got ADHD.
I got that.
Calm down.
I think I've done enough in terms of taking our team out of trouble from losing.
Come on, Lou Taylor. That's good. I'm reading the script now, and the first person that comes to my mind to play a detective,
Yes,
but
the
an
Guyanese
erratic
Mikhail
detective,
Rodriguez.
is Mikhail Rodriguez.
Why an African slap an Indian? Why a man and slap a woman? No, you deal with that. You deal with that.
We must encourage platforms like this because it brings together different people and allows for discussions to take place in our country on a multiplicity of fundamental issues.
Kingdom, you apologizing for something you think I did is wrong. I don't want you to do that, and you should not have done that. Hello, wherever you are, welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show with co-host Akash Persaud. We normally do some pre-recorded programs, but normally we come to you live. This is a very live program this evening. So if you're going to scratch your head or what have you, it will be on camera. It is being shown live. We have completed 2 years and 3 weeks of this program, and we'd like to thank the people who have been here, whose marketability have kept this program alive. We have in our studio this evening people who have appeared here within the 2 years, 3 months, more than 4 times. And why that is so is because the numbers of viewers are inbuilt into the system. When they're together here in different formations, we normally get good viewership because people are interested in the political, sociological, social things they have to say about Guyanese society. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. You just go on Guyanese Critic Facebook page and you'll see the numbers. Monday was Leonard Craig and Charandas Persaud, who have been here 5 times. But don't take my word for it. Go on Facebook and look at the numbers for Monday evening. It stands at 22,000 plus. And so our usual guests, our recurring guests, the past 2 years, we've had good viewership. We have stuck with them. We will stick with them. Some of them are here again this evening, but there is a new dimension to their appearance here. Michael Carrington has contested the vice chairmanship in the AFC's recent Congress at the end of June and won a landslide as vice chairman. So he's here tonight as the vice chairman of the AFC. He will say whether his views represents the AFC. I have known Rajendra Bissesar for more than 50 years. He's been around a long time in politics, and finally, the climax. Rajendra Bissesar has formed his own party, United Democratic Front, and he will tell you, I think it's been registered with GCOM. And Jonathan Yearwood, who was a founding member of one of the opposition parties, a new and united Guyana. He left, he formed a civil society body called Article 13. I don't know what next he's going to form. But Rajendra Bissesar's party, Leonard Craig's Michael Carrington's party and whatever party Jonathan Yearwood is forming, I am not doing financially well, so I would welcome an offer. I think my thing, because of my age, I would want a couple $1 million well, at 25, 30, 50 million. So if they offer me, I'm on board. Of course, if Irfan, one of my favorite politicians, and Nandal offer me, I definitely will go with the PPP. So here I am.
You can be bought.
Easily bought. But ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, in whatever part of the world, thanks for being on the program this evening. We start alphabetically, but before that, the protocol of welcoming the usual guest. Rajendra, form your own party now, man. Jonathan, the ever controversial man who Carl Joseph beat up, or went to beat up, and the evergreen Michael Carrington. Alphabetically, we start with Bissesar. You have formed your own party. Rajendra, it's not, I was taken to the airport in Trinidad after I went to look after my eyes. And while we were chatting in the car, we reached the airport. I know in Guyana, you take about 2 hours and it's a whole set of discussion before you reach the airport. And everybody said, we're near there, we're near there. The point I'm making is Guyana is a large, huge place. The campaign just in a part of the East Coast is a couple of days. It's not going to be easy campaigning in the 83,000 square miles of your country. How are you going to manage that?
Well, first of all, good night to all the listeners here. And I will say, if you look at the smaller parties that participated in the last election, they concentrated on cyberspace, social media, etc. Yeah. Now, Bissesar was well-trained. Well-trained in the PPP. I was the campaign manager for Region 8 for the coalition. And so my training is there.
Old head.
Old head. I have the experience that a lot of them do not have. And let me put it this way. It depends on the kind of support you said, monetary, and the Constitution. What is necessary is for you to contest at least 6 regions, and with a total of about 13 geographic member of parliament. So one does not have to contest all 10 regions. You can contest just 6 with a minimum of 13. So which means you can contest 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 10, and maybe 7, okay? Contesting in the interior will be problematic, and it depends on who are with you and what finances. And I changed my party to front. So obviously we'll be discussing with other parties to see whether we can come to some agreement to have a joint slate as opposed to going as an individual. So that's a possibility. I am saying that, in my opinion, a lot of the donation go to party. A lot of that money is not spent on elections. The corruption in the country spills over into that area also. And there's no that much accountability in terms of how monies are expended that political parties receive. And to my mind, if you have about $50 million, you can carry an election out within those areas I talked about. I, as campaign manager for Region 8, I spent a total of $6.5 million. And then you had to fly in fuel, fly in people, you had to use ATV hire, pick up, you had to provide food, and all of those things. And that region cost me 6.5. So if you're prudent and you're not corrupt and you don't siphon the money off, you can run a real election with volunteers also for about $50 million. You don't need these hundreds of course, if you have more money, you can carry a more effective campaign.
Michael Carrington, when I saw in the news that you were contesting the vice chairmanship, now for our viewers out there, the leader of the party, after him is the chairman. The chairman is the deputy leader. after the chairman, third in line is the general secretary. Fourth in line of the leadership is the vice chairman. So if at any time in the AFC, the leader and the vice chair and the chairman are not present, the vice chairman acts as the chairman, and the chairman is next in line to the leader. And since the leader is not there, then Michael Carrington will be the acting leader of the AFC. I was surprised, and so did Leonard Craig, when we heard he was contesting the vice chairmanship of the AFC. I thought that we'd all agreed in Guyana, except a tiny few, and I can't wait to hear Jonathan Yearwood and this, that maybe it's time for a new dispensation vis-a-vis third parties, that the AFC was a very unique moment that completely evaporated itself and is gone. But tonight in the studio is the man fourth in line of the leadership of the AFC. So we're going to ask him, what is this thing all about? Of course, he won by a landslide. And somebody called me, somebody very prominent in Ghana called me to say, you know, Carrington appeared 5 times on this program the past 2 years. And that is why he won a landslide. People know him, people see him on the show. So,
well, everything helps.
So why
the first thing I wanted, good night everyone, I'm happy to be here once again. The first of all, it's the leader, the chairman, the vice chairman, then the general secretary. So basically,
the leader, the chairman, the vice chairman, then,
that is
or the vice chairman comes before the general secretary.
Yeah, that is the
so I have to correct that. Anytime the leader and the chairman are out, and they will be out, of course, you become the acting leader of the AFC.
Well, I know the party. I'm in the party actually.
Yeah, you're a foundation
member. I know most of the problems that we had faced over the year. I love the party. I always told you from time to time that party rise and fall, sometime end up in government, sometime out of government, all over the world. That is politics all over the world. And regardless, we had a lot of difficulties, a lot of problem over the years. I decided to stay with the party. I was upset on many occasions, myself, just like Bissesar and many other person. But I told myself that we had worked hard to build the AFC. And if we work hard to build the AFC, we should not try or do anything actually to destroy it. Because someday or the other, we will be able to pick up the rights, the leaders, the type of leaders will be able to carry it forward. Kemraj and Raphael had done wonder over the years. They had started in 2005, and they hold the party actually for 18 years in terms of one time Raphael, one time Kemraj as leader of the party over the last 18 years. And it reached a time where they had to step off the scene. They cannot be there for other, like more years and over. They're getting older. Sometimes they might feel a little tired in the politics. And over the years, I was behind Nigel, because I feel personally that he has statesmanship. A lot of people respect him in the streets all over Guyana. People love him. I know I'm grounded. You know me and you went all over this country. We went Parika, all over where they used to break up those vendor stand and get rid of them and those. I mean, you work all over Guyana. We went to a lot of meetings when you were a great supporter of AFC. A lot of I think you had spoke at a lot of meetings in 2015. And me and you was on many other meetings, all in Berbice, all over. We had worked hard to build this party. And I tell myself I'm not prepared for this party to go down the drain. We had worked hard to build it. And this country really need a third force and need other smaller parties, just like what taking place in South Africa, in India, and in some other countries. And I'm working hard to ensure that the AFC be that force in the future. I think we have a good chance. We have a good leader. And I think we have a good chance at this upcoming election, 2025.
You have any membership form for your party? You have any membership form now to give Jonathan? Jonathan, which of the two parties you're voting for? United Democratic Front or the AFC?
Freddie, first of all, good night and thank you for having me back on your program. It's always a pleasure being here. Viewers, good night to you all. It's nice being here again. First of all, I'm not getting involved into any political party. I've had my fill of politics and political parties in Guyana, and I will tell you why. I cannot feel comfortable rubbing shoulders with people who have no integrity, no honesty, people whose desire, they're so egotistical that their desire is for themselves and themselves only and not for the nation of Guyana. So I wouldn't be joining any political party, and I'm making that quite clear. So please don't come and ask me to join. I am not coming. However, having been there, done that, been in the fight, I would like to congratulate Rajendra on forming his own political party. I would like to wish him all the best. Good luck to you in the future with you and your political party. I would like to congratulate Michael on his being elected as vice chairman of the AFC. Congratulations to both of you gentlemen on your endeavors. I would at this point in time like to offer you some advice. As an independent person who is very political aware of what's happening in Guyana, my advice to you is very simple. Mr. Bissesar, there's no way you're getting anywhere by yourself. The fact that you're already talking about creating a coalition, collating with who? If you collate with the PNCR, you're a dead duck in the water. Simple as that. You're already a dead duck in the water. It is better for you to contest alone and create a joiner with other smaller parties like yourself. That way you might get a seat. You might get a seat in the 2025 election. But there's no way you're getting anything out of the PNCR. Justice for All Party tried that, WPA tried that, and they've all ended up losers for that. We've seen what happened with AFC when AFC joined them. So don't even consider collating with the PNCR. You're killing yourself even before you start. That's my advice to you. Michael, my advice to the AFC is simple. Ditch the PNCR, their baggage that you don't want. Go it alone. Fight for it yourself. Maybe you might consider creating a joiner with the smaller parties. That's fine. But before you do anything, before you and the AFC do anything, the very first thing I would suggest you do is that your leadership, your present and new leadership, apologize to this nation for your party's behavior in the 2020 election, the behavior at the 2018 no confidence motion, and afterwards. Apologize to this nation. Don't believe that we've forgotten you. We have not forgotten you. You need to have a sincere apology to this nation and promise this nation that you will never get back into that level of gutterism that you went into. It's unfortunate you went there. You were a great party before you collated with PNCR, and then you got all messed up with the little bit of power that you had. So you need to apologize to this nation before people like myself, independent voters, would even consider voting back for you again. So that's my advice to both of you gentlemen.
When you listen to you there, if you had made that speech, if you make that speech just before election time, you're likely to sway people it was a good delivery. So we go back alphabetically to Bissesar. As the campaign picks up and as you get steam and other third parties get steam, would you entertain a discussion of a joiner list with the PNC?
Definitely not, nor with the PPP. Both of these parties have failed us, and there's no indication that there's remorse, there's no indication of apologies, there's no indication that they intend to change the direction and the modus operandi. I like it when he talked about he's not going to associate with people without integrity, blah, blah, blah. And when after you asked him whether he could have joined with myself or Carrington, so I was thinking whether a person like myself also fell in the category of a lack of integrity. And I must say this, that all my family are overseas, okay? I stayed here because like I was born to struggle, my karma. I was with the PPP for 25 years. I fought the PNC dictatorship. Freddie knows that. I was in the trenches. And in addition, I'm reasonably qualified. And the reality is that when the PP took power, I eventually became personal assistant to the president of this country. That's a big position with some authority.
That's with Dr. Jagan, Mrs. Jagan, Samines, or
No, I was
Jagdeo?
Bar Jagdeo. I was personal assistant to Bar Jagdeo. And when the corruption became deep-rooted, especially during the second term, I criticized the corruption. Carrington told me, I went in a program with Carrington, he told me I'll be fired. I said, I'm tired of the corruption, I can't associate with it. So I criticized the corruption on television, and I was terminated. The OP called the PS and said, terminate Bissesar immediately. So, and when the coalition started talking about 34 and 2.5 man and running
1.5 man,
whatever.
And
So
make the 1.5
immediately,
man 2 men.
Immediately, I wrote to the party and I resigned. I said I cannot be part of this.
1.5 man.
It went to the public. So Bissesar dissociated himself immediately. So in terms of integrity, it is my belief that I've maintained my principles. I don't care what happened to Bissesar. I could be fired. I could suffer. My principles are intact. My integrity is intact. And I think that is one thing I can say to people, and people can say of me. And the PP cannot point his finger to me to say I am corrupt. They tried it. They said I stole $5 million of flood money in 2005. I was the one leading the clearing of the East Coast. Myself and my wife, we volunteered 6 to 6. We cleared that East Coast. A company that I took on spent a total of $5.5 million, but they said I sold 5 in 2005, and I was fired. But my contract with OP was signed in 2006. 1 year after, I was supposed to have stolen $5 million, and I was fired.
You want, Kari, you want to reply to Jonathan, but before you do that, I know you're busy, and not everyone reads my column every day. I mean, I've been doing a daily column every day for the past 15 years. So people would miss 3-4 of them, etc. I wrote a column on the AFC's negative chances of winning any seat. And I did say if you were the leader, it's a different dispensation, that you should have been the leader, because for the 5 years that the AFC was in government, I can say this openly to this nation, we've been friends before you dream of ever entering politics.
Yeah.
And for those 5 years, you have stood up and have fought the monsters in the leadership of the AFC, people who were intoxicated with power. And I know you stood on the side of right. After the APNU AFC lost power and this program was born, you overpaid 5-6 times on this program, and you never justified the wrong things the AFC did. You never justified rigging of elections. And in all moral context, you should have been the leader of the AFC. I know I would chastise you for not going strong enough. I remember I was very much annoyed. The AFC supported a motion to increase the pension of Hamilton Green to over $1 million. And you put a motion in the AFC's management committee for there to be some financial compensation for me for how I lost my job at UG in the light of the ombudsman ruling that it was wrong. And that committee in the AFC just brushed it aside. So my point is connected to Jonathan. How you're going to overcome some of those shortcomings, and more than shortcomings, but And I do sincerely wish you the best, because I can speak for your integrity. I could speak for your integrity when the AFC was in power. How are you going to deal with those issues that Jonathan Yearwood raised?
In terms of coalitions?
No, in terms of getting the AFC people to say, look, we were wrong. Dominic Gaskin said that.
Well,
you have said it.
I said
You've said it so many times on this program.
I said it before, and I told our leaders, all of them, that we have to give an apology for what took place in Guyana for the last couple of mornings, in terms of whether we are in government or whether after 2020.
Well, got to be when you were in government.
Yeah, when we were in government, or when after 2020, when the chaos that actually take place. I had wrote and I said, and I think that will be done soon. That will be done soon. This new dispensation with Nigel and for we to move forward. Because I personally, you know me, how I say, if something is wrong, it's wrong. If it is right, it's right. If I know I'm right, I fight all the time. If I'm wrong, I will say, man, I'm sorry, I make a mistake or whatever. Some of the things that happened in the past, I know it might be in 4 or 5 years back or 6 years back. A lot of people don't want to look back at it to say that basically you move forward. But moving forward, if we had done anybody wrong and hurt anybody, we need to make apology. And I will make apology on my behalf, that if we had make any hurt to anyone in Guyana who were become disappointed in the AFC for some reason or the other, I apologize for such action that take place in the past. I know party make mistakes all the time, all over the world. Party rise and fall and make a lot of mistakes. And in my view, that let us move the party forward. We had a very beautiful national executive conference. We elected new leaders, and we will learn from our mistakes. And long as I'm in the AFC, I'm sure I will continue the war to prevent any such mistakes from happening again. I don't play with them. I don't care who they are in the party. I tell them how I feel. If I see this is wrong, I stand all the time and say, well, this is wrong and I'm not moving from this point. That's how I operate. Whether it's our leader, he know me. Whether it's Kemraj, whether it's Raphael, whether it was Sheila before she passed away, or even Nigel. If something wrong, I will tell Nigel, plain, I don't like this. This is wrong. You have people. You may have 1 or 2 people. If something is wrong, let me go with it. But I don't play that game at all. I really think that this country really need a good third force, and a third force could come up and win an election in a 3-way race. AFC have a very, very good chance at this point in time. Some people may not believe, but that is my belief, and that is what I'm pushing for that 3-way race, and for the AFC to win the upcoming election, even if it's by just being a minority government. I think that we can do it.
Jonathan C. Yearwood. What is the C for? Cynical.
Actually, there's no C in my name.
No C.
All right.
What's the middle name?
Let's not get into that.
C for criminal?
My middle initial is not C. It's B.
B.
It's a B.
So that's BS.
No, I'll be like Trump. B for best. Anyway, Michael, I was one of the people in 2006, in 2007 election, the 2011 election, that voted AFC because we wanted a change. We needed a change. I was so disappointed, having had discussions with Raphael and Kemraj and David Patterson not to join with PNCR, and they went ahead and they did it, and we all know what took place after that. In the 2011 election, AFC won 7 seats.
Yeah.
That tells me that 35,000 disgruntled voters, not interested in the PPP, not interested in the PNCR, looking for something that they would like to have. In my view, today's society, there's a lot more than that. Because the younger generation are not endowed, or they're not subjected to the political dramas that their parents were. So there's internet now, everybody has a smartphone, they can read things, they can do things and see things for themselves. Most of them can analyze and understand what they want to do for themselves. So there's a group of people out there, particularly young people, who may be willing to try a new political party. For you to win an election, I think that's a bit far-fetched. But it would be nice, it would be really nice if Guyana can have a minority government. And not the way we had one in 2011, where the AFC, because of their complete hatred of the PPP, went against everything the PPP did. They have to.
We need a national
minority government. The majority players have to work with the minority government to get things done. You can't ostracize them. They're the government. You have to be willing to work with them. They in turn have to be willing to work with you. But that can happen. That can happen. So for me, your objective should be to gain 4 seats, maybe have a joiner with the smaller parties, the joiner, so that would they win one, you now have 4 to 5 seats that are available, that are not PPP, not PNCR, and that might hold the balance of power in a divided parliament. That might be the aim that you should go towards. But to say that you're going to win it outright, not in this 25 election, not in 2025 election. Sorry.
So we return to the United Democratic Front, right? Or United National Front. It's
Democratic.
United Democratic Front, UDF. And I warned you that there was a party by that name. So if that man is alive or wherever he is, I'm going to contact that man and ask him to sue you for copyright, Joseph Bacchus.
We don't have such laws in Guyana.
Okay, but anyway,
I would know I have an LLB.
You would know you have. But lawyers can be wrong too.
No, but I'm not.
Wasn't it half man? Half man didn't come from
that
one and a half.
That was a politician, not a lawyer. Okay.
Half man.
That's a politician.
Oh, 1.5 man.
The politician can conjure anything they feel like.
I wrote in my column in Today Chronicle that my mother swore. My mother used to sell coal in Watermanville, and she, people buy coal late in the night. And when she was coming home, she swore she saw a half person walk in. Yes, so there are half people. But I wrote it in my column today in the Chronicle. Today my Chronicle, today Wednesday. But let's get back to...
Did she see it wrong it off into one? No.
But she didn't wait, she was screaming, she didn't wait to see how it was rounded off. I would like to know how you round off a half man. But anyway...
in terms of the AFC, I wrote about this and I kept talking to them that if the AFC had to discard those maximum leaders, and if the second tier had taken over the AFC, it would have presented a completely different scenario. In terms of the minority government, it is my opinion that in 2025, it's very possible to reduce the PPP into being a minority government as the first step. However, strategically, you'd want to change the body politics of Guyana by removing the PPP from government. And how is that done? The first thing is to remove the PNC as the main opposition party. So if the PNC remains as the main opposition party, and I'm going to say this to you, in government, the PNC, the coalition PNC, led by the PNC, did very little for the masses at the bottom. Of course, they did increase the salary and so on. That was good for public servants, but generally, the masses were ignored. And in fact, the AFC ignored its own membership too. So, and in opposition, they can do nothing for you. In opposition, the PNC can do nothing for you. Why are you voting for them? to make a couple of them member parliament or whatever it is. But if you were to replace the PNC as the main opposition party in 25, the PPP can lose power in the next election. It is the presence of the PNC and what they have done in the past, and especially in 2020, reminding the people that will cause people who are disillusioned with the PPP to lock hands with the PPP. But because they don't ever want to see that PNC in power again. And anytime you remove the PNC, the main opposition, you liberate them from that necessity of supporting the PPP. So I am saying to you, one of the major approach is to have some unity among the small parties to replace the PNC as the main opposition. So we can have an opposition that people can trust and people have with integrity and so on, that people can have some trust in. So that's my first statement. The other one is this. Some people, take me for instance, all my life I've spoken about the unity of the working class. Even in all my TV program, I start off by saying, if the working class is united, you can hold any government accountable. When the Bauxite sugar workers went on strike, when Hoyt said no increase for workers, they got 40% because of that unity. So I'm gonna posit this. If you try to represent, let's say, blacks are being discriminated against, and maybe they're discriminated against more than others, but you cannot behave as if they're the only economically marginalized set of people. You have a lot of Indians who are marginalized too. So we can't ignore that. But if a minority grouping says we are marginalized and you emphasize it, you're maintaining a divisiveness. You're not uniting. Martin Luther King was representing Afro-American. And it was okay. The moment Martin Luther King started talking of class, which made a broader unity, he became a threat. So talking blacks and talking Indian is not going to be a threat to the PPP. Anytime, you have to stop talking the race, unite the working class, and when the working class is liberated, that liberated working class will liberate everybody else. It will liberate the gender, it will liberate the Afro-Guyanese, the Amerindians, it will liberate the young people. But if you talk race, then you'll never get that unity, and without that unity, you cannot replace the PPP.
You are watching the Freddie Kissoon Show with co-host Akash Persaud. Akash couldn't make it this evening. Let me tell you what our topic, our presentation, our format is this evening. Michael Carrington has become the third in line of the leadership of the AFC. The vice chairman is the third in line. He contested the election at the last Congress of the AFC, the end of June, and he won by a landslide. Rajendra Bissesar this evening has introduced to the public the formation of his party, United Democratic Alliance, and United Democratic Front, and there is in the middle the independent, cynical mind of Jonathan Yearwood. We go alphabetically, so we started with Bissesar, we go over to Michael Carrington. And we'd like to inform you in case you missed it, and in case Bissesar and Jonathan Yearwood missed it, I heard Carrington said distinctly, apologies are forthcoming from the AFC. So we go over to Kari.
Thank you, Freddie. I want to get into the party. As I said, I'm in the party from the start.
Foundation member, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel political parties should not just be political party to deal with politics. My duty as a vice chair is group formation and membership, which I'm working with. I would like to see that the groups that we establish for the party, it will have do political work, also social work, and also it will involve in an economic venture. I really think that Guyana have a major problem in terms of our value-added industry. I know we are importing a lot and it's very difficult to compete against some of the things that import. But I also think that if we AFC work very hard, we could create a lot of jobs, not just because not in government at the present moment, but we could still create a lot of jobs. I think all parties in Guyana should work in that direction, because you have communities where say Region 5 produce a lot of rice, but you don't have much rice products coming out of those areas. We have Region 6 producing sugar, but we don't have no sugar products really coming, candy, sweets, and chocolates, and all those lists. Over the years, our value-added industry had failed completely. So one of the things what I already start doing is actually pushing for we to have what is called groups that really could function, could be productive in any kind of way, to do work in the communities. Whether if a community is full of wood, like for instance, the highway is full of wood, we have 27 sawmills building there. I think in Linden have about 30 sawmills or something like that. We must be able to have training programs for those particular areas in wood products. So whether if you go to Essequibo and they have a particular, they plant a lot of plantains and a lot of provisions and all those type of things. We look at producing of like flowering of edos, flowering of sweet potato, cassava, and those type of things. So I'm trying to have the party move in a direct line where the members become productive in the area and work with everybody in the area. If you know me all the years, you will never hear me pointing to somebody and cussing them down and using all kind of language and all kind of things to degrade them and all kind of thing. I basically believe that, and people used to complain about this, I work with everybody. When I was a regional council in Region 4, I used to call meetings. I call meetings at Kurukuru, call it Kurukuru on the highway. I call meetings in Yarracabra, and I invite the PNC councillors there. I invite the PPP councillors there. Tell one of them, tell me, Carrington, politics don't work, so. We can't get together. Politics don't work, so. But some of them did come, and we had some good session. The two NDCs on the highway, which is the Yarracabra NDC and the Kurukuru NDC. I start pushing for that, and those two NDCs established since 2009. After I discovered a document in Parliament, I think, or the paper 51 of 90, that there are 5 NDC areas that never established for the highway. 5 NDC. It's Kurukuru, which is the Wayakabra, they call it Wayakabra, Yarracabra area with Haruni, Moblissa, Tomiri, and Sanssouci. I think it's Sanssouci. There's those supposed to be housing schemes area, but the areas had not developed around that time. Ganga, I remember having discussion with Ganga Persaud, even Whitaker, concerning having those NDCs and having the highway develop with roads and different things. And so they told me, Michael, we're doing some reform. I think the time was 2013, we were doing some local government reform. And after the local government reform, we're going to establish it. So when the AP and UAFC get into government, the first thing I did is approach Mr. Bulkan. And I asked him, I said, I want these are the 2 populated NDC. I wanted to have it established. I start since when I landed in Yarracabra to live in 2006. I landed with 6 children going to school. And when I landed in the village, there were no primary school, no secondary school. The children had to come down still to Soosdijk. It used to cost me like $3,000 a day for the 6 to bring them a carry and a little snack and those type of thing. And I remember clearly lobbying hard for having the primary school and the secondary school. We had meetings that even broke up there with this guy Kwame and this lady that passed away. This called some firefighter, I forget her name.
Philomena.
The firefighter. Yes, came and break up a meeting that we had there. We were dealing with school issues.
I just want to add a disclaimer.
Yeah.
What you are saying there does not represent my view and the view of this program.
Okay.
We disassociate.
All right, but I just said...
We disassociate. I disassociate myself from those words.
Yeah, it was in the papers. It was all in the newspaper around that particular time. Me and everybody still talk. Me and we still have good relationship. I still talk to Kwame and them. If I Kwame in a village, I go and reach him and I thought this is the way how I operate. I talk to basically anybody, whether you're PPP, PNC or anybody, I deal with you. But that school today Yarracabra is on the rise. We end up with a beautiful primary school. We end up with one of the best secondary school. Is the A-grade school at the present moment. A very big building, very, very nice. So Yarracabra, we end up with some roads. The PP had done some roads last year, some concrete roads. And when I was a member of parliament, I had request the main road to be done. And it is done and the village is moving forward. So for years now in the party, I was working for development anywhere that I go. So when the election came, this last Congress came, is only on the day of the Congress that I send out a picture concerning like a campaign picture with me and just a little message. Just that day. But I always meet people all across the country, so they know me, they see me on your program. I might get some advertisement from your program in terms people see me and know me. I write some letters in the papers and so they had six person there. This guy Himraj from Region 2. You had Mark Gorin from Linden. You had Derek Basdur from Berbice. You have myself.
You beat all of them.
Yeah. Was 6 of us.
Anyway,
and
you won. I know you won by I know you won by a landslide.
Yeah.
But quickly.
Yeah. So I really think that the AFC have a great chance at this particular time. Thanks you for a great chance. And if you listen to Jonathan very carefully, he advised me and those type of thing, and I take his advice. Because I know him, I know his brother, and most his maybe his family, and I listen to people. I am grounded with people. Where there's border market, big market, I walk every day. I'm grounded with people, and I ensure that I will try my best to steer the party. Bissesar did the same thing like me, in terms of trying to steer the party.
Jonathan, I have seen what he has said. I have had not 1,000. But 1 million complaints when the AFC was in power. Him, that's 2, Leonard Craig 3, Marlon Williams 4, Trevor Williams 5. These good second-tier people who just could not rein in those leaders. But Jonathan, those leaders are not in the thing today. The chairman is Patterson, the general secretary is Trotman, the executive is Cathy Hughes, Kemba Dramjatan. Your word.
All they've done is shuffle the cards.
Well, I'm asking you to comment.
All they've done is shuffle the cards. They've brought in a new card, what I consider the Joker, who is the new leader, because he retired from politics, said he out of politics, back into politics, come and go, whatever. You got to decide what he's all about. But before I get down to that, Rajendra, you talked, were you trained in a communist school? Because the way you speak, you come across working class and this, that, and whatever else. It comes across to a person like me as...
Were you trained to be an anti-communist?
No, but I don't speak the way communists speak.
Well, I'm speaking about working class.
But that's what I'm talking about. It comes across to people like us as being that.
Paranoid.
Hold on. Very paranoid where communism is concerned.
I am talking about working.
Very paranoid where communism is concerned. We've been down that road and it failed. Hold on. Stop. I didn't interrupt you.
Okay.
Now,
okay.
You talked about getting rid of the PNCR as the main opposition party, but you haven't issued any single thing as to how you're going to do it. Talk is cheap. How are you going to take away 27 seats from the PNCR?
Now,
you talk about removing the PPP from government. How are you going to deny the PPP 32, 31, 30 seats in parliament? What strategies do you have? Do you, as a newcomer into this, you worked as a political advisor, analyst, whatever else before. You never stepped into the field by yourself before. Now you're going to test the waters. And I got some very unlike news for you. A lot of people don't know who you are. You think you were well known because you worked with A, B, C, and D. But the average man on the street does not know who is Rajendra Bissesar. They read your articles, they read your letters in the papers, but they can't put a face behind it. So they don't necessarily know who you are. So you have to go out there, put your foot in the water, test it, and then afterwards we can sit down and talk as to what you can do, what you think your strategies can be to work to get towards that, to get rid of the PNCR as a main opposition party, which is what you're talking about. I don't see any of the smaller parties getting more than a seat or two, and that's not enough to get rid of the PNCR as a main opposition party. Sorry. Michael, it would be so nice for value-added products to be done locally here in Guyana. We've talked about that for years. Colonialism is built on taking raw materials from your country and developing their country. Yet we've been, how long? Since 1966 we've been independent. How many industries have we developed in Guyana? Very few.
Very few.
Very few. So to do that, it is highly unlikely for somebody in a political party in opposition to be able to develop industries to do that. You have to be in government first and foremost before you can allocate money, land, space, resources to get those things done. It's nice to have the plan that when you get into government, we will do A, B, C, D. That's nice to do. But as an opposition, you really and truly can't get those things done.
You won't get everything done, but it's a starting point.
Having the plan is the starting point. Having the plan is the starting point. Letting people know that this is what we want to do is a good political gimmick. A good political point. Well, not gimmick, sorry. I apologize for the word gimmick. On gimmick at all. It's a good political point for your voters. That if these people get into power, this is what they plan to do.
We need to get a value-added industry.
Sure, that's fine.
How do you create jobs in Guyana without having the value-added industry?
Well, there's that. There's that. Because when I was involved with ANOG, one of the things we looked at, that we were discussing, was you mentioned sawmills in Linden. And one of the things we discussed was not having raw timber, lumber, come down the highway. It has to be stopped at the lumberyard in Linden, processed, and cut wood transported down the highway. That's value added. Right away. That's value added.
You have but 30% to 40% of the wood actually go to
You finish? And I just want to know if you're finished so we can go back.
I am basically finished with that. So
I'm wondering which certain section of the society is going to try to do to me what they did to Cherry in the 60s, anti-communism. I will say this much. We were told that communists would take away your baby, they can take away your property and all kind of thing they were told. And the capitalists put boredom into power. So I don't know which one I like and which one I will dislike. But I'll tell you this much. I am pro-working class. I've always been pro-working class. My writings have been pro-working class. And in terms of me being seen out there, I was the face, actually, of the AFC in most of the television program. I was the moderator. During election time, I was like 5 hours a week on television in Georgetown alone, plus Barbies, sometimes in Esquivo. So I'm seen. The last election, I had 7 TV programs campaigning for Schumann and against the coalition and the PPP. So I was there also in my own television program. I'm on social media all the time. So in terms of being seen out there, people commit, besides I read your letter, besides I saw you on television. Now, I just want to say something to you. When my good friend here raised the specter of communism, you know, the fact is, when I was growing up, we were told how Russia don't have democracy and so on. But America was peddling to us that Russia don't have democracy, but at the same time, they didn't have democracy. They didn't have universal suffrage, and black people could not even walk on the same side of the street like white man, while they were telling me to hate the communists. So like today, we must hate Putin. Mandela said this when he was asked why he's a friend of Arafat and so on. You know what he said? They are trying to tell Mandela who his enemies are. And Mandela said, I will judge the people in terms of how they treat us, not according to what you tell us. And if Castro helped Angola, well, he's a friend. If Castro sent troops to help the Angolans fight South African troops, he's our friend. And if USA sent troops to help the South African apartheid state, well, is that good? So that is how you judge people. Not because of some ideological, nonsensical thing they peddle to you, because they control the press, they control the media. So we need to question what these people have been telling us and what they've been preaching to us. Now, having said that, I would like to say this. This party, every time you criticize the PNC, they tell you, look at the PPP. Every time you criticize PPP, look at the PNC. I want to say this to you. The young people of this country don't want the PPP to say, they are just better than the PNC. The young people of this country wants to know we can enjoy the wealth of this country, in a fair way. That is what they want. They don't want to hear PNC and PP. They want to know we have all this wealth. Where is it going? In whose pocket is it going? That they want to hear. You hear people like Joel Bag when they're telling you, these measures have caused $200 billion to go back into the pockets of the people. And the president says that. But my question to them is this. If you reverse some measures of the PNC, some tax measures, you just took us back to where we were. You haven't taken us further. I'm also saying, if you're saying these measures have put $200 billion into the hands of the people, I want to know who. When I look at $200 billion divided by, let's say, 300,000 households, you're looking at $600,000 each household. I will say, Mr. President, put back all the measures and give each one of these $666,000 in the pocket. Because that money, you said, putting back into the household is going to the hands of a few, the rich. It's not trickling down to the ordinary people. So you're talking big things about $200 billion is going to the rich. And we can see the gap widening. So you give pensioners $3,000. Now, a lot of them are going to die before you start producing large quantities of oil. For Christ's sake, give them something to live on. Because how $3,000, and look at the inflation. It's ridiculous. So I am saying to you, I am pro-working class. I've always been pro-working class. My writings have been pro-working class. And I have stood by my principles. All my family overseas, I stayed here. And I will stay here and fight for the working class of this country.
Quite a mouthful. Alphabetically, we go across to the man who, I must say, as Jonathan, I was surprised Jonathan Yearwood didn't use harsher language, that the AFC is likely to become a minority government.
No, I didn't say that.
No, he said that. I said, your reaction was very light to that. I mean, Kemba Dramjatan, Cathy Hughes, David Patterson, all those people who were there. And
they have a lot of people in the AFC. We had the elections, and we have a lot of young people that coming up. A lot of young people that come. I don't think Kemraj actually said clear that he will take a back seat. Also, some of the others they've done already said
he's in the executive.
Yeah, he's in the executive. They will be in the party and the executive, but then in turn moving forward to parliament, to government, and all those type things, you will have a lot of other young people coming up. And if you see that Congress we had some strong young people, battlers. They are playing very, very good in politics. Joretta, even Mr. Duncan, and all of those people that we have there. I think they are very good in politics, and we are working with them. The party is working with them.
Duncan, Joretta, for them to
no, they're not bad. No, what I'm talking about in the party where we had the little campaign, and so we had a very nice campaign, internal campaign. People battle, just like will take place in some other country, internal campaign. But in terms of government, when we're ready to government, we're going to look for the best mind. It's not necessarily all going to come from the AFC. In civil society, we have a lot of good people in this country. They may not like the politics, they may keep back and they might hold back because the dirty politics which take place in Guyana. People just come up there, they hustle for cut you down and cuss you out and all kind of thing. But they may have good people in this country who can manage office, manage better permanent secretaries across the country. Because one of the big problems that we have, the people who deal with the day-to-day management, is basically the permanent secretary. Whereas you may have the leaders will give, the ministers will give guidance, but they deal with the day-to-day operation. And if you don't have good permanent secretary, you could be a good minister and still have a problem. You could still have a problem.
No,
so we got to look for some of the best mind, other than just the politician.
Our operator say 4 minutes there, but I wanted to ask you before Mr. Cynical comes in. I wanted to ask you.
No, he's a good guy.
No,
I don't like how you start. I don't like how you got on this one.
That's fine.
No.
That's
fine. I know. He's right. I am saying that he adopts a very cynical analysis to some of the things that people put out there.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to ask you is that these young people you're talking about, that you had a deluge of young people in the Congress, do they have the wherewithal? Do they have the courage to hold those troglodytes that have remained in the FC, in the leadership? Because they control them.
I think they have a lot of courage. I think.
Well, top names like Bissesar and Marlon Williams couldn't control them.
There's a different dispensation now, It's not like the past with the older guys. They are strong, they are very argumentative.
Why the older guys wanted to... Why Trotman, who I understand is very ill, and served his 5 years in thing, wrote a book, why he wants to be the general secretary? But Patterson said in this table, I gone.
Yeah.
After the election, time for the young people to... The man is now deputy leader.
Yeah. Well, I know fully well they had a case where...
What?
4 minutes.
Where some of the people that decline. I always have a problem in party with people declining. Whether you have 5 or 6 votes, I always think you should run.
Why else are you there?
Yeah. So most of them decline, and Raphael was basically leave there. I would like to see the people who decline should really challenge and have a proper democratic process. Just like how I just decide me declining, let us go to the poll.
But before Jonathan comes in, I think people should have challenged morally Trotman should not use Trotman, Ramchatan should say, listen, we started this thing in 2005, we went into power thing, let us do the new takeover. Even if the people, that's number one, morally they should not have gone. Secondly, those vibrant young people you're talking about should have challenged them. But we gotta go. So I will go quickly to Jonathan.
What I would say is, I started off by saying that AFC should apologize to this nation. And one of the first people that should get on their knees and beg forgiveness from this country is Sherrod Duncan. That nonsense of calling people trench crapo and calling this and that. How the hell you expect me to vote for you if you calling me a trench crapo? That is absolute disrespectful. That is absolutely ridiculous.
But before we go, you know what he did? During the 5 months of election again, when the British High Commission was siding with the other forces of the world calling for he got on a program and said the man is taking this position because he got a little girl in the PPP. That's what he said about it.
I wasn't going down that line, but what I'm saying is people like Trotman, like Duncan,
Bellman, ring a bell.
AFC need to get rid of them because this is the baggage that has tainted the AFC during the election process and after the election, and their behavior, we're not going to forget this. We ain't forgetting how they behave towards us, the Guyanese people, about that. I'll switch over very quickly
we gotta go.
to Rajendra. I would like to say, for a man who just launched a political party. I'm extremely disappointed that you didn't use this program to tell us how you will make changes to the political landscape in Guyana.
But you can't anymore.
The question,
we're
exactly.
2 minutes over.
Exactly.
Time.
So,
but I'd like to wish you Rajendra Bissesar very well. All the best in his venture, his new political party. All the best. As third in line of the AFC, in terms of leadership, I'd like to wish you the best, Michael Carrington. And Jonathan, we'd like to have you here because I respect your independent voice.
thank you.
Thanks for being with us. We will see you on Friday with our normal call-in program. Our guest has been Rajendra Bissesar, who has launched a new party, United Democratic Front. Michael Carrington is now the third in line in the leadership of the AFC, and he said he expects the AFC to do wonders in the next election. And there's the independent mind, Jonathan Yearwood, who assess all these things and courageously give his iconoclastic views. We will see you on Friday with the call-in program and our videos. As I normally say, catch you later. Bye-bye.